Welcome to episode 22 of the Ready for More podcast.
There is something called style personality that I work on, and I am a huge fan of that because I think actually to bring your to express your personality through what you're wearing is really important. It's a huge part of the get to know you, like you, trust you process that people go through in order to buy from you.
Welcome to the Ready for More podcast, where we share success strategies and stories for women business owners, entrepreneurs who are ready for more for yourself and for your business. I'm your host, Heather Cameron, and I'm here to help you to discover your unique path to profitability and success so you can achieve your more on your own terms. Are you ready for more? You can find today's show notes and links at www.igniteyourmarket.com/readyformore. Welcome to the Ready for More podcast. My guest today is Tracy Hooper. Tracy is an image consultant and professional stylist. She has a particular focus on helping entrepreneurs and business owners get their image to be a great representation of themselves and their brand in order to make that all-important first impression count. So welcome, Tracy. Very excited to have you here.
Thank you.
That was, your quick bio. Can you tell me a bit more about your business and your expertise?
Yes. As you said, I'm a personal stylist. I actually started off, I've been in fashion all my life. I was a dressmaker and did some design work and stuff. And then that's quite hard physical work, so I wanted to change. So I became a beauty therapist. But actually it was okay, but it wasn't really scratching the itch, if you know what I mean. So I thought, no, this isn't quite what I want. So I trained to be a stylist. And I've just done face-to-face work with people, close enough to get to me for sort of 10 years. No, it was 7 years actually when I started to change, 10 years ago now. And again, I wanted a slight change. And so I got a business coach, and I have been working on moving towards an online business, which seemed impossible to me when she first suggested it, because I thought, I need a body. How can I do styling without a body in front of me? But we worked out a niche market and ideal clients, and that's when I came, over time, came to this place of working with entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs mainly, who want to take their business to the next level. And as you probably know, your marketing these days is about getting visible. So whereas you might start out on your own path with your business thinking, I can stay at home in my PJs on my laptop and run my business, the reality is we all need to get visible from time to time in order to help people to get to know us and like us. And so that's what I want to do. I want to help people to get a look that gives them confidence, that means they can get out there and do the visibility stuff that most of us are actually quite scared of, really. But also not only represents them well and gives them confidence, but also says a lot about their business before they have to start speaking, because first impressions are made very, very quickly before you've had a chance to speak. So if you can dress in a way that says a bit about your business and gives people a bit of confidence and trust in you, then you've done some of your job before you even have to start talking to anybody. So and I love that. I love pulling, the body shape and the personality is all one thing, but pulling in the business side of it as well just adds that extra something for me that makes it a little bit more exciting.
I love that. There's so much richness in all that you just said, which is
thank you.
And things that would be interesting to delve down to, which is the difficulty or the mindset change, maybe not difficulty, the mindset change to taking a business that you wouldn't traditionally think you can take online to be an online business. And I see more and more people being brave to do that, because it's hard when you're like you said, when you're used to having a body in front of you, and now you can't see and touch the body, and you only see part of the body.
Yes, exactly. But the mindset shift for me was more than that, to be honest. The mindset shift for me was to do with my belief in whether I could do this. I mean, your podcast is for people over 40. I'm well over 40. In fact, I don't mind telling you I'm 54. I didn't grow up in the time when you were doing tech stuff at school. I just didn't. I've had to learn as an adult. And when this whole online business thing came up, I was clueless, completely clueless, and skillless as well, to be perfectly honest. And, you know, everything I've had to learn to do has been a pretty huge mountain. And so there's been a lot of mindset work that's had to go on along the way, for me to get to this place where I believe I can do it. Well, and I've done it, actually. I've built this business. Yeah.
And I think that's great, because that is one of the reasons when I started this podcast, I chose 40 plus. Yeah. And I was having a discussion with someone the other day, because I'm not sure what people in their 30s are actually. People under 20s and mid 30s are like the millennials. What are those middle people in their 30s? I'm not sure who they are or what they're called. And then we have the baby boomers and the Gen X's and kind of the era similar to your age in there. So it was, I don't think particularly women, and I'm an exception because I'm an engineer, my background is techie, but generally speaking, women weren't taught technology in schools. We weren't, I mean, even today, they're not really taught it. They are in a way because it's part of their life now, but we weren't taught technology, and we were in some respects taught to fear technology. And now
exactly.
To do your business and to take something that's not traditionally online takes some mindset changes, and to be brave, really, to try this and see what you can do with it.
Yes. Brave, I don't know whether I would describe myself as. Determined not to let it beat me, although there were times when, you know, along the way I had meltdowns and I was done with this and I'm not doing it anymore and ready to throw the computer out the window, but I've learned along the way that that's all part of the entrepreneurial journey, and everybody gets there and thinks they can't do it anymore. But the satisfaction in, and I haven't made it. I don't want to make out like I have made it, because I really haven't. But the satisfaction in having built this business, which I have done, is huge. You know, to be able to do that when I had no skills to start with, and I've done it all myself. I haven't outsourced anything.
And that's amazing, yeah. And you know what there is, you had tons of skills. So when you said you had no skills to start with, I always get challenged women with that, because women have a ton of skills, whether we realize them or not. You know, I've had talked to some women who are like, well, I don't have anything. I'm like, how many kids do you have? And how did you run your household for so many years? There's a ton of skills in there that we undervalue. And so, so you had a ton of skills, and you just used your skills differently in a way that would business. So
and I wasn't afraid to ask for help either. You know, I have a business coach. It's a group program I'm in. There are 60, 80 women in there, I don't know, something like that. And actually, that, you know, you'll probably ask a bit later on, but that would be one of my key things for anybody, is find yourself a community of people who have got your back and support you, because I wouldn't still be doing this without them. I would have packed it in a long time ago. And you know, the times I've put a question in there like, I can't do this, can somebody help me? And there's always somebody who will help me, because we all have different skills. And so we're but a community of people who get what you're trying to do, because actually I don't find family do get what I'm trying to do, and you know, are there for you and cheering you on is invaluable, really invaluable.
It is absolutely invaluable. I did a podcast on that. I was trying to see podcast number 7. Episode number 7 was all about community and finding that community of people that you can outreach, because being an entrepreneur, particularly a sole entrepreneur who's working from home, you don't have, and you're what you said earlier as well, is that your family is part of it, but they don't understand it. They're not dealing with the day-to-day. They're not dealing with the emotional. So having that community that you can reach out to, whether it's a paid community or a free community, finding a community that can support you both, and I do believe both locally and virtually, because sometimes it's nice to just get out of the room and go meet a community of people. I started a Facebook group just now it's called Ready for More, to go with this podcast, for people, women who are 40 plus, to offer that community and that accountability, which I think is key for all of us. I'm an extrovert, so the longer I spend at home working without touching or speaking to somebody, it's more difficult. And I think for introverts, even then, they still need the stimulus, the discussion, the points. That's a fantastic point of finding a community. Or even, you know, if you're not, I did a podcast interview this week, which will come out in January as well. And an extreme introvert, right? But still sees the value in finding community. There's always that misinterpretation that introverts don't want people. It's not that they don't want people, they just get stimulated differently versus the extrovert who.
Yeah, they just need more time to recharge, don't they?
Yeah, but they still, I mean, I know some amazing introverts who are very, very good at networking and being visible and all the things that we need to do as business owners.
Yes, so I do the offline networking as well, part of a networking community, and and sometimes I get asked whether I've had any business from that, and the reality is no, I haven't. But it gives you, it's not just about getting business from it, it's about a whole load more.
There's a gentleman here in Canada who's he dubs himself as the networking guru, Michael Hughes, and he teaches all over the world. And one of the things that he taught, I met him when I first started business, which was like 14, 15 years ago. And his comment was, you should network in at least 2 places and get involved in community. Yes. One is your peers. One is people who are your peers so that you can learn, empower, and do the community that you're talking about. And the other is a network that would have your customers or your partners. But you should always think about networking with your peers and not just look at it as a way of making and sales. Yeah, and there's so many opportunities nowadays to find communities that you have to just try, right? You have to reach out and try and see what works. If it doesn't work, then try the next one, but at least give it time to be valuable. So that's a great point, and I agree with you.
Yes, well, because it takes time to build any relationship. Relationships don't build in an instant, so you need to stick around to.
What was your life before you started to do this? I know you mentioned that you were doing some seamstress. Was that self-employed, or was that working for someone, or?
It was a combination of the two, actually. I did my own work and got my own clients, but I also worked with a bridal shop locally and did a lot of their alterations for them. I learned to sew when I was 11. I was desperate to make my own outfits, and I hassled my mother until she helped me to do it, and I made myself a little skirt and waistcoat. And I was hooked from then on. I always loved to sew. So when I'd had my children and wanted to earn some money but not go out to work, that seemed a logical sort of next step, really, to sort of take it into a business and get some work that way, which worked well for me for quite some time. But you end up doing more wedding work, because that's really when, ready to wear clothes these days there's so much choice and so many price points that not many people come and have something made unless it's for a wedding. So it's a lot of wedding work, a lot of stress, heck of a lot of stress. And wedding and bridesmaids dresses are really heavy as well. And I did put my back out, crawling around carrying these dresses. So that was when I thought, no, I need to find a change. But I wanted to stay in the fashion industry because I love fashion. And so then it was I did quite a lot of brainstorming to try and see, well, where could I go from here and stay in the same industry but in a different way. And the other thing about doing the dressmaking was that I'm an extrovert, I'm like you, and I was here on my own an awful lot, just upstairs in my sewing room, sewing away, and I wasn't networking at the time. I didn't even know about networking then. And so, it was very lonely, and it didn't really suit me, to be honest. And I knew I needed to do something with people. So then the beauty and the styling, although I'm not working with people, I see people a lot. So that fits me much better. And, I get, I actually, as an extrovert, you get energized by being with people, don't you? So even when I'm working, I'm much more excited because of that people contact. So that really works for me, and I do love them. I really do love it. And of course, like we said, I've built the community around me, so I don't ever feel like I'm on my own now, which is fantastic. I mean, it is a bit of a bizarre thing for family around me to get to grips with, though. My husband doesn't like the fact that I'm on my phone or my laptop. And I can't quite get him to understand that I'm not just fiddling. I mean, I might look like I'm fiddling on Facebook, but I'm actually mainly in business groups, doing my business. So, that's the only difficulty with that side of things, I find.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation. And it's one that I find common, actually, is a lot of people don't understand the virtualness of what business can be today. You know, or my mom used to say to me occasionally, and my mom, I come from an entrepreneurial family, so it's not, but they were concrete entrepreneurs. And I would say, you know, you'd be really good at this job. I'm like, Mom, I have a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just, and not that she didn't support it, it's just that it was beyond her understanding of, first of all, what's a business coach and how are you doing this virtually? And I mean, I've spent, even before I became self-employed, I was in high-tech industry. And before we got on the call, we were talking, I lived in Australia. I worked virtually most of my career. Like I had people, when I was living in Australia, I had people working for me in Hong Kong. I had people working for me in Singapore, in Kuala Lumpur. When I was here in Ottawa, initially, I had people in North Carolina. So I've always been a virtual worker, even in my professional career. But it's beyond a lot of people's understanding. And so getting people to really get what you can do with it is interesting.
Yeah. And it's probably a generational thing as well, which doesn't help. But my parents, they live a couple of hours away, so they want me to go and stay with them. And I can't get them to understand that I can't come and stay with them and not touch my laptop the whole time I'm there, because that's my business. And I will lose business if I don't deal with stuff. But they just see it as being rude and antisocial.
It's true. And I mean, it's there, and there is an element of rudeness, and not you personally, but this whole internet and the cell phones have created that idea. Absolutely. So it's interesting. But yeah, so it's a different world. And I think that of learning how to work in it and realizing that it isn't something everyone's going to understand. As much as people who work for corporations are technically competent, it's not their business. And that's something that I find is hard to get people to comprehend, that this is our business.
I hadn't thought about it like that. Yes, you're right. Some people use it for their work, but that's not actually their business, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very true. And then we come back to the community again. So you need a community of people who do get it, who do totally understand what you're doing.
And they understand that, you know, and it's I've been in business for almost 15 years. And you obviously have been self-employed for a long time, even though it's different, is even the evolution of technology has changed greatly. When I first started out to get a website, was not me doing it myself or hiring somebody, and it was a quite large investment because it was an HTML-based website. There was none of the tools, and to collect money and to get all the things working was nothing. So technology's evolved so much that it's easier for us as entrepreneurs to put the building blocks together. But we still hold the intimidation of technology, which is what you were talking about. That kind of, how do I take on this thing?
Yes, and I suppose I've still, actually, my mindset is still that I'm not very tech. What's the word I use? I'm a techie numpty. And I, if I'm being brutally honest, I think that probably isn't true anymore, but I still think of myself that way because I didn't grow up learning how to do it. But I've just been on another call with somebody else today to, I've been writing online courses for the London College of Style.
Oh, cool.
I'm now tutoring them. And so I was on a call with them to get to the back end to learn how to mark the assessments and communicate with the students and stuff like that. The minute he took me to the back end of this website, I was like, oh yes, I know that. I understand that. That's the same as mine. It's WordPress and I can see how to work it. And he's like, oh yeah, you'll be fine then. You're obviously tech savvy. And I was like, I'm tech savvy. Yeah, it's a hard one to get my head around.
That's a wonderful example because it's all relative. I remember because I worked in a very high-tech company, tons of tech people, and I was not the techie in the tech company, right? But when I left, I have 10 times more tech information than the average person does, right? And I think that, yeah, tech savvy is a very relative thing. You know, I think I meet a lot of women who don't know how to alter their websites. They've outsourced it. Sometimes too much. I agree in outsourcing and hiring a good website designer and staying in your lane of brilliance. But if you do that without knowledge of what you're doing, then you risk the chance of them leaving and you can't edit your website. Or I had one client who hired somebody who made it so complicated that she couldn't do anything. And I'm like, whoa, you need to get rid of them because they were making your life complicated. So it's all relative to what you know.
It is. Yes, it is. But cards on the table, to be honest, I'm very pleased with what I've managed to achieve.
Absolutely.
Which I didn't think I would be able to. It took me a year to build my website. But now I can go in and do whatever I want to on it whenever I want to, and I may outsource it at some point in the future. But like you say, I wanted to be able to. I didn't want to be stuck, say over Christmas, for instance, want to put out something for January and not be able to until the offices of the web people opened again on January the 3rd or whatever it was. So I wanted to be able to do it myself, and I'm very pleased that I can.
I was looking at your website before I came on here. It's beautiful. So there you go.
Oh, thank you.
It's all good.
Thank you.
Running your business isn't easy. So why do you choose to do it? You may have covered that a bit, but why do you choose to continue to do this?
I think that there is a really simple answer to that, and that is freedom. Because there's been no end of times when I've thought, I'm going to go and get a job. I'm just going to go and get a job at the local retail fashion outlet, and have done with it. But I honestly, I can think about that for all of 5 minutes and think, oh no, I just don't want to be tied down, being told when I've got to be there, told what to do. I think I'm probably a little bit too much of a free spirit. I want to do things my way, when I want to do them, and the reality is that it's not quite like that. You are at your client's mercy, and you need to fit in with them. So it's not entirely, you can work when you want to and how long you want to. I mean, I probably work longer hours than I ever would in a full-time job, but it's so much more exciting because it's mine and it's my dream, and I can shape this dream. I mean, what I'm doing now was not what I expected when I set my goals at the beginning of this year, but I love it, and it's my decision whether I take this path or whether I stick to my original path. And also the online business, the freedom with the online business is that I want to travel. We were talking about that before we started, weren't we? I want to travel. That's my main motivation for doing this. And I can still work. I can take it with me to wherever I want to in the world, and I can carry on working and have the freedom to be where I want to for as long as I want to.
And that's great. You're an example too, which I one of the other interviews that's coming out, podcast episodes coming out next week, is someone who also takes a profession that wouldn't traditionally be thought of as something that you could do online, and in her case very unique, and turning it into an online business. So the reality of it is, any business, like we're recording this using Zoom, and we see people face to face, any business can be online. I have an associate I know from one of the groups, communities that I participate in, who teaches people how to self-massage online, right? And sees great results with it, like really, really good results.
One, I would have thought you needed a body.
It's not the same as a body, but she's able to help people relieve stress. She's able to people to find their pressure points, and she's able to show a bunch of things that she can help with someone online who may not be comfortable going out to a massage therapist or doing something like that, right? So anything can be done online. You're doing styling, which again, like you said, we all think we need a body, but I can take you into my closet and show you what I have. And do that, and so I think there's a brilliance about what we can do nowadays. One of the things I like what you said as well, which is that this isn't where you thought you were going to be.
No,
and it's an important point, because I think a lot of people plan at the beginning of the year. We're about to come into a new year. Yours will air in January, so it'll be January, and a lot of people spend a lot of time planning at the beginning of the year, and then they don't do course corrections. Right. They get to the end of the year and they're really off track, and they're okay with it sometimes they're not. So it's I'm a big component of planning every 90 days.
Yes, I try to do that. It's got a bit awry this year with the writing, because that's been pretty intense.
But that's one of my big things I like to, is that it, just because it's a new day tomorrow doesn't mean January 1st all of a sudden everything changes. No. So when you have that continual planning process, you're not kind of cycling around that. But what you said, and it's come out in a number of the episodes that are before yours, there's a better word for that, whatever it is, about people releasing something by allowing, put it out there, let it grow, see organically where it goes, and it may take you in a different direction. So don't be, the advice that's come out quite strongly in this podcast is, don't be overly attached to the outcome.
No, I would agree with that. And when I said I'm not where I expected to be, is far better than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really glad that I was able to sort of say, wow, this is an opportunity. I'm going to grab it with both hands, even though it means that other stuff's gone on hold. And so I've been doing this writing for the London College of Style for 6 months, basically since July. And there were times during that where I thought, oh, is this what I want? You know, I've completely abandoned my own business, if you like, although this is my business, but do you know what I mean? My own plans and my direction. Is this right? Is this where I want it to go? But it is right. And, you know, there's more opportunities come than even the first ones that I saw. So, you know, they asked me to write for them. I'm now the tutor for them ongoing, which is, well, it's only just starting, literally just starting. I've just marked the first assessment. But, you know, the opportunities are massive. And the credibility and the kudos, you know, associated with being an expert tutor on the London College of Style website is just, you know, I never would have dreamed of that. So it's, yeah, awesome. I think it's great that you have these opportunities and, you know, you're able to just run with them.
Yeah,
also, sorry, I interrupt you. I've also been asked to speak to a conference. So I flew up to Scotland in November and spoke at a conference and have had more opportunities as a result of that. Well, that wasn't on my agenda. That wasn't on my vision board in January.
And that's why I believe in course corrections, right? Because you can have something that comes up. One of the things that I have and I often talk about is the shoulds, right? There's lots of people telling us what we should be doing.
Yes.
So my free giveaway is called the should buster. And it's really simple though, which is that if something comes at you, change it from a should to a want.
Yes.
You want to do this. And then the second question, because I find a lot of people are overwhelmed right now with you should be doing this, you should be doing that, is if you decide you want to do it, do you want to do it now?
Yes.
It's a really powerful question, right? And if you want to do it now, like an example of yours where they came with this opportunity for you to write the courses, what does that mean that you give up? So that you know, and you're processing that and you're acknowledging that I'm giving up X and Y. Not a bad decision, obviously a great decision in your case.
Yeah.
But you have to, as a business owner, you have to do that thinking. And I see a lot of women don't necessarily think that way. They haven't had that kind of, it's okay. I did a whole thing about 5 or 6 years ago where I put brochures together and I did trade shows and I tried to enter an industry being a bit of a disruptor. And if I knew now what I know, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done it differently. But it didn't work out, and that's okay, right? So it's okay to venture down these things and have them not work out as well.
Yes, yeah. And I'm telling you about the successes, which is what we do, isn't it? But actually, there's been plenty of failures that I've tried something and it's not worked, and like, oh, okay, back to the drawing board. What do I do now? But that's all part of the excitement of the journey, in my opinion.
It is, absolutely.
And you don't get that, but if you're employed, you only get that when you're in charge of your own destiny. So
yes, absolutely. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for 14 years, and I still remember the first time I got paid, and the first paycheck that I made for me.
Yeah.
Right. No one paid me to do this. No one set the lead. I found the lead. I did it. I made it, and the satisfaction that I get from that, and still get from that, is quite.
Yes.
Is unique to an entrepreneurial journey. You don't get that when somebody pays you a paycheck. Even if you land the big deal and you close the big contract, it's not the same feeling as when you sell something yourself.
Mm.
What would you say is the most important thing you've learned from your journey?
The thing that's come to the front of my mind, so I'm going to go with it, is to believe in myself. Gosh, that actually makes me feel a bit emotional. I really didn't believe in myself at all when I started this. And when my coach first said about an online business, I mean, I was just, kind of every negative thoughts that you could possibly have around that I had. You know, why would people want to buy from me? Who's going to want what I've got to offer? I can't do this. I don't have the skills, you know, all of that stuff. And now I changed. It was a process. I haven't just suddenly jumped to where I am now. I had to change the thinking to, well, not instead of why wouldn't somebody buy from me? Why wouldn't they like what I've got to offer? And, you know, not everybody's going to like what I've got to offer. Not everybody's going to like me, but I'm okay with that now. Whereas I wouldn't have been 3 years ago. Now I'm quite comfortable with the fact that the people who do like me and do resonate with me will be happy to work with me, and those that don't, I'm probably better off without anyway, because we won't have any connection that will work. So So I think that's it. And so it is that belief in myself that, you know, I can do it. I've done it. So yeah, it's amazing actually. But you can't just suddenly get that. You know, that takes time.
To find it. Yeah. I mean, you said two wonderful things in there, which is finding your belief in yourself, and it grows each time, right? Each time you see a success, each time you do it. And I love your question of why wouldn't somebody work with me? And then also, if they're not, I mean, I believe that great marketing repels the people who aren't your ideal client and attracts the ones who are, because I have experienced, and I don't know anyone who isn't in business for a decent amount of time, hasn't had at least one drain client. One client who, even last year, I ended up helping. I tried really hard not to let this client hire me. I kept giving them referrals, and then I knew I could help them, and they wore me down, and didn't work out. Within like one session, they were demanding an attention level that I don't agree with.
Yes.
They were millennial. They were demanding like instant response to everything, and I'm like, sorry, you know. And at the time, my father was in the hospital, so I'm really sorry. I'm not going to be responding at that level. And we ended up parting ways, and I ended up giving them back everything. And I could have saved myself a lot of heartbreak by really standing up and saying, no, I'm not your coach. I'm not the right person for you. So having marketing that repels people, and it sounds strong, but it's like they're either belong in your niche, and a lot of people talk about niching and all that stuff. But the reality of it is a client who isn't your ideal client will zap you.
Yes, they will. They will. But it's really hard, especially
it's very hard.
If you're at the start and money's not flowing readily, which you know, it's not. It's you know, it takes time to get there, doesn't it? But it's really hard to turn somebody away because you just think, oh, you know, they're going to pay me. I need to take them on.
It is very difficult, and I think all of us will take on clients. Even as we evolve, we will do that. But it's getting to know the ones that, you know, no, this just isn't the right match for you. Your expectations don't match what I'm going to do. It's an important thing to know. But believing in yourself, which is where you started this, believing that you can do it, and believing that people do. You know, I'm in a crowded space. There's lots of business coaches out there, but there are people who will resonate with me that won't resonate with other people.
Yes, exactly.
And vice versa. And that's the real key about knowing that even though there's a ton of business coaches out there, there's more people than there are business coaches.
That's right. Yeah. You've got to find the right person, haven't you, for you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What surprised you the most along this journey?
What I'm capable of doing, I think. I'd have to say. I think that would be it. I've been able to do far more than I would ever have thought I could.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is, and actually that's the first time I've ever expressed that. But yeah, that would be it, I think. And yes, to get to that place is quite a big deal, because I although I'm an extrovert, I am was I can't keep saying I am still, because I don't think I am anymore, but so lacking in self-belief and self-confidence and self-esteem that actually to be able to, you know, come onto something like this and say, actually I can do this, I have done it, and I've surprised myself with what I can do, that is quite a big deal, really.
And that's a common misperception of extroverts. Doesn't mean we're confident. We just, like, our energy comes from outside. Confidence doesn't necessarily, and we hide our incompetency well sometimes, because we can use our extroverted tendencies to block or to refocus other things from things. But yeah, and I think I like what you said, and thank you for your honesty on that, because I think it's very common for women who potentially haven't had the opportunity to really do what they're great at in a way where they actually have to acknowledge, like, they're more aware of it. Because I think all women, particularly ones who have raised families, you've got tons of skill sets that you don't see as skill sets, right? I often see, you know, I'll talk to somebody and they say I don't have any skills, and I'm like, well, didn't you bring up 5 kids and get them to school on time and get them dressed and get your family? Like, all of these wonderful skill sets, they don't necessarily perceive the value to them.
Well, I think that's a society thing, though, isn't it? That you know, a woman who just stays home to look after the children, especially now, it's even worse than when it was me at home. I mean, when I was looking after my children, it was far more common for women to stay at home, but it must be even harder for them these days, because I don't know whether it's the same for you, but certainly over here, very few women don't go back to work. And so, you know, that's the value of being a stay-at-home mum. and to look after just the domestic stuff is really put down in society.
It is. It is. Absolutely. And it's unfortunate. But I mean, that's one of the reasons I love coaching women who are 40 plus, because the wealth of skill sets and knowledge. And, there's that concept of at this age, maybe we should be slowing down. And I think, no.
I'm not ready for that.
One of my inspirations that I have met is a woman I coached about 5 or 6 years ago, and she was 79, running her 79, 80-ish, running her business, her third or fourth incarnation of her. She didn't look it. She looked very young. Of her business, she was a hand-on practitioner. So she had clients, she had rented space, running a business and being really successful at it, and just not conceiving retirement. And my father worked till his body gave out at 84 or 85. He changed his career many times. He was a maple syrup farmer in the end, and he just couldn't physically do it anymore. So he, in that sense, is, I don't have that concept of retirement and doing that. But this woman, she sold her business a year ago. Her person she sold it to is now my client, and is now at a horse farm out west, using some of her skills on the horses and the people who come to ride, and just completely. And she's like 80 something. That's my inspiration to me. That's what I think, this concept. I live in a government town, so a lot of people are like counting the days till they retire, and then all of a sudden it's 55, 60 and they're not working anymore. And I'm like, but
yes. Well, in fact, my husband and I have, we have a very traditional relationship. I stayed home, looked after the children when they were younger. I did all the domestic stuff, all that sort of stuff. And it's not been a conscious decision, but slowly it's shifted. And actually, I'm done with the domestic stuff. I really, it's a real chore for me now, and I far rather do my business any day. And so, and actually, he is starting to think about retirement. He's ready for retirement, and so we really are working towards a complete shift, which for a very traditional relationship is quite a big deal. But when he talks about retiring in 5 years' time, I'm thinking, well, I'm not ready for that. Don't expect me to retire with you in 5 years' time, because there's no way. I've got too many ambitions and things I want to do.
And that's great. And I have a guest that I'm going to have on in the future is someone who's in that situation. Her husband's completely retired and she's still working, and they found a really cool rhythm to their life and respecting their decisions. And it's her husband is much older than her, so it adds that element to it. But it's a case of, why do we need to retire? It's my little thing. We don't. And we have such brilliance and such skills and such unique stuff like what you're doing. So to switch a bit, I'd love to know a bit more about what you're doing and how it would apply to my audience of 40 plus women.
It's a lot to do with personal brand. So, I help women to find a look that is going to really help to propel their business. So we do some Skype work about body shape and personality and all the rest of it. But the thing that I'm most excited about is that I'm actually just changing that slightly to be a much lesser package and actually more affordable, but then moving them on to, in fact, I said I've got a call straight after this, and it is to talk to somebody about a platform whereby I can operate a virtual closet.
Oh, cool.
So that's where I'm going with it, really, is to entrepreneurial women are busy. They don't have time to faff around trying to figure out, I've got meetings here, there and everywhere. I'll do that for you. You upload your clothes to this platform, and I will then manage your wardrobe, closet, whatever. And so, you get to ask questions. I'm going to do a community as well, so we can give each other feedback and questions and, accountability, whatever. I haven't kind of figured it all out with the details yet, but if people are going off to a speaking thing and don't know what to wear, well, let me search for something suitable for you.
That is awesome.
So yes, that's where I'm going with it, really. So I think that is probably women in business. That's probably the best thing I can offer. I've done some research. That's what everybody wants, with the people I've asked, obviously. So I'm very, very excited about it.
No, that is very exciting, because I know many times I've gone off to do speaking and there's like 5 shirts on my bed, and I'm going on. I did the other day, actually, because that just doesn't feel right at the moment. I know there's people who can plan their wardrobe. I'm not one of them. I'm like, okay, what do I feel like this morning?
Yeah.
So I can see that. And one of the things you mentioned very early on was that we are visual now. Like, to really get our business, videos, Facebook Lives, whatever your business is, there's a visual element.
Yes.
And we can't, well, we can be in our pajamas on the bottom.
Yes, we can. We can.
And what do we do on the top? It's really funny because I have a pile of jewelry here sometimes.
Yes.
So I'll be like, because I do my Facebook Lives quite spontaneously. So it'll be like, oh, what do I look like? Oh, better put on some jewelry. I have a jacket over there. So I dress myself up for when I know my video is going to go live. What would a few like really pieces of advice about when you're doing that? What kind of things would you advise someone to look at or to think about?
Okay, I can. I actually have put together a freebie called How to Look Good on Video. So I can answer this very easily because I've already done the research, which actually I'm going to run a challenge to lead it into the virtual wardrobe, which all kind of fits together really well. So in terms of Facebook Lives and live video of any sort, as you said, we're only talking about waist up at the most, probably chest up. So you only have to worry about the top half. Wear clothes that are not busy with pattern, because you want people to look at you, not what you're wearing. So that's one tip. Also, I have seen somebody very cleverly, in a way, wear her brand colours, but her background was also her brand colours, so she disappeared.
Okay.
She disappeared. So have a think about the colours. You don't want to clash, but you don't want to disappear into the background either. I would also suggest, and I think this is probably my key tip, is to spend some time before you suddenly think, I'm going to do a Facebook Live. Spend some time, put aside an hour or so to go through your wardrobe and to pick out 5 tops that when you put them up against you, try them on, put them up against you, and look in a mirror with a critical eye and see, what does that colour top do for me? Does it light my face up, or does it drain me? Because when you're on a Facebook Live, you want people, you need to look, attractive isn't the right word, but appealing. You need to look like you're animated, like you're lit up, you're passionate about what you're talking about. And video and camera can be very harsh. So, look in a mirror and see really realistically, what's it doing to your face? Is it making you look younger? Is it making you look older? And pick out 5 tops that put them in a separate part of your wardrobe that okay, I'm going to do a video, Facebook Live or video. I'll go and grab one of those 5 tops. And the job's done for you in advance then. You can even put your jewelry around the ones that it works with or something like that.
I've done that. I've done where I'm sitting in mic today, because we're not live showing the video. I'm wearing a nice cozy sweater that's not my best color. I have actually gone and switched shirts, put it on for Facebook Live, and then gone back and put it back up so that it's clean, because I don't need it to be that day. So yeah. I've done that. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what that framing is.
Yes, and I know another thing I would say is, I know not everybody is a fan of wearing makeup every day, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to say anybody should be wearing makeup if they don't want to, but cameras they drain you, they bleach your face completely. And so a little bit of makeup is going to make you look healthier and more sort of alive, really. So I would, if you're going to do an impromptu one, that's great. We don't want to stop people doing impromptu Facebook Lives, because they're often the best. But if you've got a minute to think about it, a little bit of makeup just to give your face some colour is a good thing. So yeah, hope there's a few tips there that would be quite helpful for people.
No, they're all good. Some of them I do, some of them I don't. That's all good. Good to think about. I have kind of an aside question for more of your opinion. Yeah. One of the things that I've seen is, particularly in some of the high-end business online coaches of women in particular, there's kind of like this standard dress type that people are leaning towards. Right. And it's not, like, I find it's not me, right? So so how do you go about picking the you and bringing your style to this, right? If that makes sense, my question.
Does make sense. There is something called style personality that I work on. And there's a little quiz that you can do that gives you your style personality. And I am a huge fan of that, because I think actually to express your personality through what you're wearing is really important. It's a huge part of the get to know you, like you, trust you process that people go through in order to buy from you. So we didn't discuss this in advance, so I don't know whether you can do this, but if you want to, I can do a link to the quiz for people to.
Absolutely, yeah. If anything will go in the show notes. So any of the links that you give me, just send me in an email and I'll put them in the show notes for people.
So yeah, people do, if you want to make sure that you're dressing in a way that expresses you well, then figure out what style personality you are, and then you can bring in a little bit of it. And as I say, we're not live today, we're it's not going to be video, but I've put a scarf around me with a little bit of decoration on it, because that's me. I need a little bit of I'm not a plain girl. I like to have some lace and ruffles and girly bits, so it just makes me feel good to wear those things. And obviously in business I've got to be careful with that, because with every style personality there's plus points and then there's minus points, which I'll also give you links to. And mine is that I can go overboard on the girly stuff and not be taken seriously in business. So I have to balance it. But, it makes me feel good, and it makes me feel like me, and it gives me more confidence to know that I'm dressing in a way that expresses myself well.
I love that, because one of the things when I look at some of this stuff, and it was one of my struggles that I've kind of gotten over, is that there's this kind of, if you want to be this, you got to look like that. And that's not me. So I wouldn't be showing my authentic self if I was to put on skin tight dresses and however those images are taken. That's not me. Right. So, and there's a few out there that I know who do their images in jeans and a t-shirt because that's them, and they do it elegantly in jeans and a t-shirt. So I like your advice of having the you and using who you are to create your image.
Because people buy from people, so they've got to know who you are. And if they're wanting the corporate tight-fitting shift dress, then they need to go to somebody else, basically, because it's not going to work, because your personality will go along with the dress and not be the right person for them. So so dress for you, really, really important. Be authentic, be yourself.
That's awesome. And I will definitely put those links in the show notes for people, because I think that's something that we challenge. And I also think as we age, our style changes. We're not going to be wearing the latest fashions for the 20-somethings anymore. Yep. And hopefully some people may, and they may look really good on it, but we also have to find, and I know personally, I'm not ready for what we perceive to be the older 60s, 70s. We're in that mid style of finding a style that suits us as we age and we change.
And it's a new thing that we are, us in this generation now, we're carving this out, because in the previous generations they went after I think I did some research on this, and I think after women had the children and then the children grew up, they basically went into granny mode. It sounds horrible, but they basically went into granny mode, and we're not doing that. We're going into, okay, now's my time to have my career and do what I want to do, and we're having to find a dress that suits that without, like you say, being the 20-somethings which would not look good. So yes, it is a challenge, and it's a new thing, but it's great. I love it.
I absolutely love what you just said. I do, because that's that, and I can think of some people who do it well and some don't. But yeah, it's our time. We're not going into the granny mode, so that's wonderful.
I'm a granny, and I'm not going into granny mode.
Absolutely. We're redefining granny mode.
We are redefining granny mode.
We're coming to the end of our time. So I wanted to ask you, I always wrap up with, so I will, if you send me, I'll put all your links in the show notes for people to access. I always wrap up with 3 questions. So what is your superpower? What would you consider your superpower?
My superpower. Giving women confidence in themselves through the way they dress.
Love that. Which I think all women need that. So that's wonderful. Do you have a favorite quote, and how does it apply to you?
Yes, I do have a favorite quote. It's up on my wall. I can and I will, watch me.
Love that one. Excellent quote. And the last one is, what's the most important message you'd like to leave with our listeners about being an entrepreneurial woman 40 plus?
I can't think of one. I can think of 2. Be yourself. Be yourself, and find the right group of people to support you on this journey, and the right community that are going to have your back.
Excellent. That's wonderful advice. So thank you so much for being part of the show. It's been really enjoyable. Lots of golden nuggets in here, particularly about just stepping into, I love that parting thing you said about we don't need to be grannies, and stepping into our own images and our own self. And you've had a wonderful entrepreneurial journey, and taking something that we don't consider to be an online business online is what so many people can do today.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, there's great potential in the online world for so many people. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Awesome interview.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been great fun. Loved it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ready for More podcast. You can find today's show notes and links at www.igniteyourmarket.com/readyformore. My name is Heather Cameron. I'm your podcast host. And when I'm not hosting this podcast, I'm busy working with entrepreneurial women like you who are ready for more in their business and are looking to get focused on their own unique path to success. You can find more about myself and my programs at www.igniteyourmarket.com. If you like what you heard, feel free to rate, review, and share with your friends. And don't miss an episode by subscribing. Until next time, remember, now is the best time to focus on your more and be inspired by your own unique gifts.